this message from a couple months ago asking about some creator who made a slanderous video about VTubers, supposedly because VTubers care about men's issues, but the creator thought they were being disingenuous. The person who DM'd me argued that stance doesn't make any sense though, because those VTubers get dox attempts and attacks for being in support of men. But that doesn't really prove sincerity. Like, I've had people target me for views I don't even hold, just because people misunderstood what I said or outright lied about me. I think getting dox attempts and attacks more so suggests that internet mobs are not that smart. But still, this person asked for my thoughts because the original creator stated that they were in support of me. I couldn't find any of the context at the time because I was only looking on YouTube and I don't have Twitter and I will never get Twitter. So I responded to what they gave me, saying that if it's just skepticism, I don't really care, because people are allowed to be suspicious about sincerity. But if he's actually advocating aggression towards them, then of course that's not okay. But that's all I could really say about it, because I couldn't find what they were talking about, and I couldn't find how they knew he was in support of me unless he just said it in a part of his video. Well, I finally found that video. A PNG tuber named Lex made a rant style video where he felt as though a lot of VTubers seem to bring up men and being in support of them, but that it's always super vague and usually at the expense of women. Near the end of the video, he says that he doesn't mind VTubers bringing up men or even bringing up vague movements that are meant to be in support of them without contributing to the gender war, but that they need to take a different approach to it, and used me in 2 of my videos as an example how to do that. As much as I like being briefly gassed up, I'm not sure why he mentioned me, because the video was more about VTubers specifically, and I'm not a VTuber. I think it was a bit unfair to compare me and my style of content to VTubers that he was criticizing, because I sit behind a computer and write out what I'm gonna say beforehand, while a lot of VTubers usually react to content live because they're streamers. So sometimes they say things they don't mean or are just vague enough to be clipped and called out to be a bad person. Or sometimes when they discuss serious topics like men's issues, they just say whatever's on their mind instead of thinking about what to say first. Because as I said, they're live streamers that need to keep saying stuff or else people won't watch. That said, I understand what the main point of his video was, but I think he accidentally made it a call-out video instead, because it's not just a VTuber communal problem, and honestly it doesn't even seem to be the majority of VTubers anyways. I've only watched Jaden animations when she streams with her VTuber avatar and another VTuber who seems to have a parasocial relationship with Jaden, so pardon me for being a tourist when it comes to how the VTuber community actually functions, but I also just know that there are so many content creators across all platforms who weaponize both genders' issues for their own gain, whether that be validation or financial, so they lean into gender wars so people who already agree with them say, "Oh my god, you're so smart because you agree with my already formed opinion." And he does know that, considering that he references multiple creators on TikTok and specifically another YouTube channel, Shoe on Head. Lex asked the rhetorical but supposedly serious question of why all these VTuber creators have similar tastes to shoes and why they're so attracted to our content. If you don't know who that is, which I'm going to assume that some of you don't, Shoe built her platform in the anti-SJW era, where she sold a lot of misogynistic ideas as ironic humor and embodied the not like other girls e-girl persona that appealed to a lot of manosphere audiences. While she shifted left politically, I don't think she's ever disavowed that content or approach, which a lot of people are still skeptical about. She might have, but I just surprisingly do not have enough time to go through her 100 videos or any of her tweets. But to supposedly answer Lex's question about what the connection is with the VTuber she was complaining about in Shoe, I watched this one specific VTuber's reaction video to one of Shoe's relatively recent videos about the average male fantasy, since Lex featured 2 videos of this creator in his video. So you're watching me talk about some VTuber, watching Shoe on Head talk about a Twitter thread to talk about Lex talking about VTubers. This is the best time to be alive. In Shu's video, she goes through a Twitter thread where people were giving the worst opinions ever about an anime featuring a paraplegic woman who falls in love with an able-bodied man. I haven't seen this anime, but if it's nothing like Toradora, I'm sure I'll like it. Shu highlighted one tweet from another VTuber who responded to these bad takes by saying,
"The amount of people in comments who just don't get that men want a cute, loving girlfriend is beyond me. They call them creeps for wanting actual love and not a girl boss who only wants your money."
Both Shu and the VTuber reacting to Shu's video praised this tweet because they're the only normal person in this thread. But that's not really true to what they actually mean, because this tweet still feeds into the gender wars. Yes, her tweet was defending men against unfair attacks, but she still randomly brought up girl bosses, a type of woman that had nothing to do with the actual conversation. The real problem was that Twitter users were being ableist and making assumptions about men liking a disabled character. So unsurprisingly, this VTuber got called a pick-me because people on Twitter resort to name calling before they can explain why they're calling them that, which then causes both Shu and the VTuber reacting to not understand the actual reason people were using that label, and they chalked it up as women calling women who like men pick-me's, which sure, I can understand that because I also indirectly get called a pick-me too whenever I talk about men in any video topic, but this situation specifically is not a good example of women calling other women pick-me's for no reason. I'm sure that this VTuber's tweet had good intentions because people on Twitter are cold no matter what the topic is, but she still defended men by degrading women, and neither Shu nor the VTuber reacting noticed that, even though both of them understood the flaws of that defense when the genders were reversed, because throughout this entire video, Shu criticized the extreme tweets calling random men that they don't know abusers and rapists, but she praised a response that said that these women are bad because men don't want gold diggers, when that doesn't make any sense in the context of this conversation. I know the name calling is different and obviously on different levels of how bad it is, because Jesus Christ, some people are way too comfortable throwing out accusations to people they don't know, but it's still the same invalid reasoning. These men don't like this anime character, therefore they must be advocating for predators, and these women don't like this anime character, therefore they must be advocating for gold diggers. Both are taking a media preference and projecting the weirdest and unreasonable motivations onto an entire gender. But I will give them credit where it's due. Shu near the end addresses all the comments from men getting angry that they don't relate to this fantasy of dating a woman who likes you. I can't imagine why. And Shu explains why other men like when women like them and want them around, and again the VTuber reacting nods her little anime head to all of Shu's takes. It's actually quite enjoyable listening to these two criticize men because of how they view men. They don't shame their comments for being men, and they actually use what those men said to make an actual point against. So it feels like we can have a proper discussion of how men are different and not a monolith. Obviously I don't agree with everything either of them said, which is very normal for consuming opinionated content, but especially because usually when they say men, I think they mean the nuclear working class straight male.
Also, men will deny this, but they absolutely have a biological clock. It may not hit in your teens or your 20s, but one day you're going to have a dream. You have a little daughter making you pancakes with your wife in the morning, and you're not going to be able to get it out of your head. And that is the male biological clock.
Emphasis on nuclear. I really do like Shu's content when she talks about men, but I just always prepare to cringe whenever she brings up women. Shu does still bring in a lot of nuance to topics that mainly involve women, but she also unnecessarily tends to focus on women hate other women because they're jealous a bit too much for someone that's trying to engage with social issues thoughtfully. People don't like Sydney Sweeney because she's hot, and people hate hot women as much as eugenics. Even though everyone who doesn't like what Sydney's brand represents still famously love gorgeous female celebrities like Taylor Swift, Margot Robbie, and Alex Kasani, so that's not really a valid point. But I can still respect the rest of the video I'm referencing as being a pretty good analysis on capital politics because their strong suit is with critiquing systems, not really individual behaviors when it comes to women. Shu extends a lot of empathy and nuance to men, but not as much to women or even just issues involving women. When men have different reactions to certain issues, she explores why and just generally grapples with complex issues of what's affecting the modern nuclear man. When women have different reactions to certain issues, she tends to default to blaming liberal girl boss modern feminism, teaching women that they don't need no mans, which sure, if you're a 10-year-old little girl, I guess you've been taught that by your parents who don't want you dating, but the modern adult woman is constantly told to date and marry someone before they expire, and straight modern women constantly fantasize about being protected and cared for, so they fantasize in books, comics, and TV shows about the man helping or going to her even when she says that she can handle it on her own. And even though I don't relate to this fantasy because my feminine fairy tale fantasy is loudly bossing men around, I feel like I need to say that the fantasy is not women's consent being violated. It's being so understood that even when you say one thing, a man knows what to do regardless of what you say. Shu is chronically online, she should know about book talk. She sees men's struggles as systematic and complex, which I agree that it is because I believe it goes hand in hand with systems that harm women. But she often sees women's reactions as ideological brainwashing, which if they're an adult, it's not. Both Shu and certain VTubers' view on women seems like it stems from SJWs on Twitter, which as we all know, Twitter has the best representation of every group of people ever, whereas their view of men comes from their audience, which are more humanized. Since both Shu and some VTubers' most popular content centers around hearing out men and calling out women, their audiences are predominantly male. The women who do watch often leave comments calling them pick-me's, which means they're getting feedback from men who appreciate their takes and women who hate them, which creates an incredibly skewed perception of how each gender actually thinks and acts. So they end up using the word men to mean complex individuals with real struggles and women to mean ideological irrational weirdos. The connection between the VTubers I've seen and Shu is that they occupy the same niche of content of male-oriented commentary criticizing women and feminism that naturally attracts similar audiences and develops similar worldviews, even if their formats are different. They're not pandering to an audience, they are that audience. I don't think that these creators are lying to their audience about what they believe. I think these creators just have a genuine alignment and overlap with their audience types because they come from the same online space. But the reason that this content feels performative isn't because that these creators are possibly lying about what their beliefs are. are. It's that it's all intellectually shallow and follows the same accidental script when regurgitating it to their audience. I'm obviously working with very little content here specifically, but it's still a weird pattern that keeps popping up when it comes to influential advocates. And as I said before, that doesn't just happen with VTubers. Whether it's VTubers reacting to SJW cringe, or brocialists posting videos like, "Hey queen, you deserve rights," or creators tweeting generic takes about each gender's day or month or whatever, it's all surface level content that doesn't incite actual change. I saw a comment on Lex's video saying that whatever VTuber isn't lying about liking men because she has a husband. I see that excuse quite often where people say these women aren't pick-me's or performative because they've already been picked, but that doesn't really matter. Weird ass toxic boy moms usually have husbands and still want to get picked by their son and his friends for whatever reason. Having a partner doesn't automatically make someone's behavior authentic or even healthy. People who need validation from the other gender won't stop after getting a partner. Men still get called pick-me's too, and sometimes they actually are, even after they get a partner. This same shallow approach happens across the gender spectrum. I've been seeing a bunch of performative men getting called out for their performative behaviors, and it makes me so happy. Oh my god. Men bad, women good. Do you agree? Give me engagement. You disagree? Give me engagement. Of course, I know it's good when men are feminists or allies to women or whatever, but the issue again is that it has no substance. I don't expect everyone to be an activist, but if someone's making their entire online brand about supporting a specific cause, they should be adding at least something productive to the conversation. I'm always end up having to ask myself, are these creators engaging with complex issues or trying to create dialogue that might inspire or change minds, or are they just making blanket statements expecting cheers from people who already agree with them? Unfortunately, I've been seeing the latter. This type of content attracts people who are usually already frustrated or hurt from general issues, which then feeds them exactly what they want to hear instead of offering them advice to grow past their grievances, or they end up offering unhelpful, toxic advice. Because after all, you're the victim of the other gender not doing what you want. I don't want to say that letting out your grievances is bad, because of course it's not, but it's just that a lot of times it turns into bigotry. I'm not ready to date or befriend certain genders because I don't trust them to not hurt me again. Turns into this entire gender should be eradicated and silenced because they're all abusers, cheaters, and rapists surprisingly fast. I know why it happens, because when you've been genuinely hurt by a pattern of people, it makes sense that you'd want to protect yourself from the pattern. But there's a difference between processing your experiences and getting stuck in them. Tree branches keep falling on your head, causing you head trauma. It would be natural for you to start walking a little farther away from trees to protect yourself from it happening again, or even telling your peers that tree branches are hurting you for no reason so they can comfort you about it. But usually going up to every tree that you see to scream at it or advocating to start chopping them all down rarely helps you get over your past trauma with trees. Content that confirms your worst fears about people of course feels validating, but it doesn't really help these people move forward or feel better in the long run. Whether it's men generalizing that women are perfect angels who are always in the right while men are evil demons who want to murder you, or women generalizing that men are patient, wonderful, kind, woodland creatures while women are manipulative banshees, they're all commodifying people's genuine need to feel understood while keeping their audience trapped in the same tired gender war dynamics. Lex faced a lot of backlash for the majority of opinions that I just repeated but different, and he ended up making a follow-up video addressing all the criticism because he did say a couple things that he didn't need to say, like when he referred to one of the VTubers as a bitch.
But I don't believe for a single second that this bitch has a single authentic bone in her body.
Not aggressively, obviously, because it's clear that he was trying to be dramatic for comedic effect, but still unnecessary, especially if he's trying to give valid criticism. And he did also end up kind of doing a lot of similar things that he was criticizing these VTubers for. Like one of his points was that these VTubers who pander to men are mostly women who put down other women just to seem different. But then at the end where he addresses men, he says,
"What are you doing specifically to help men? Feeling sorry for yourself? That's not good enough. Just gonna bitch about how crappy your life is? I didn't know we were the black community."
I think he's black considering the beginning, so I don't know why he would say that, but I appreciate that he's trying to handle it the best he can. He pretty much backtracked on a lot of the stuff that he shouldn't have said, or at least should have stated differently, but was still able to stand strong on a lot of his main points, which proves that he wasn't pandering either according to the standards of the people in his comment section who said he was. He's a small creator that got cancelled on Twitter, which he should absolutely tie to his self-worth, because Twitter has such carefully curated critiques that we should all really take more seriously. But even for someone who has everyone against him, he's not crying crocodile tears or even unnecessarily punching down on these VTubers more, which is good. He acknowledged his mistakes, grew from it as a person, and his growth shows in his more recent videos. Isn't that all we could really ask for? Overall though, I still think that his video wasn't that bad, and I think a lot of VTubers and fans of those VTubers just took it way too personally, especially since I'm pretty sure that this video was supposed to be a surface level rant video that he wanted to get off his chest and wasn't supposed to get this much attention from VTubers. But I'm sure taking things personally is very out of character for the VTuber community, so I hope they don't take this video too personally either. But I don't know, that's just me. Laters.